Hi, how are you? Good.
Ted, are you ready? You ready?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Hive. And thank you for coming to, this is our fourth Hive dialogue on economics and our valley and our town. And this series came out of a meeting that was held back in December, where members of the community were invited to share back to the community things that were happening in various aspects of businesses. And so realtors, the coal mines, agriculture, businesses, chamber, everybody was represented. We had about 12 people up here talking about sort of the state of the valley. And this room was packed full, standing room only. We had people going out the door, and they left with a very good feeling. All but one, and you can probably guess which one, had a very positive outlook on where we were going and what was happening here and how businesses were starting and how entrepreneurial things were happening, and that, you know, a really nice picture of what was going on in the valley. From that, we got a list of, at the end, of other things that needed to be discussed and other areas that we could drill down into and take a closer look at. And so we've had a couple of other dialogues since then, one of which was on food and food distribution. One of the items that came up was, in order to be more successful in our economy, we need to find ways of distributing our farmers' food and that to other places and within our own community. And so that happened in January, and out of that meeting, 2 new businesses actually formed. One is a poultry processor, and they're going to be doing mobile poultry processing. And another one is a food distribution group that is looking at taking local farmer stuff and distributing it in different directions and making that their business. And there's probably some others that were bubbling around as well. Our next meeting was on education and the impact of education on economy and economy on education. And that one was very, very interesting and also well attended. And we had Karen Gibson, the superintendent of schools, here giving the school's perspective. We had the principals from the local schools. We had people from alternative schools. We had people from SEI and from some of the non-structured or non-public school areas, talking about things that are going on. And SEI had just some fabulous input on programs that they're doing, things they're doing in this community and outside of the community. And Kathy Swartz from SEI facilitated that. And very interesting meeting, very good sharing of information amongst people. That also had created connections, and there's some things bubbling from that. Different organizations now working with the schools to provide after-school workshops, summer programs, and whatnot. And so things are happening because of these meetings. About a month ago, I guess it was, Max Isley from Mesa Winds had called and said, so those were good meetings, could we have something with our winemakers and beyond, with the beverage people from Delta County, beyond even the North Fork Valley. I'm hoping that some might join us. I know they were invited. And that we could have bigger dialogue about what would be needed for our wine industry, our cider industry, beer, distilled spirits, that would feed into creating a more cohesive plan about how the North Fork Valley is perceived and how we can make each other more successful. And so we kicked it around a little bit, and at the same time, there was a group that went off to Longmont? Yeah, to the destination marketing program. And they went to a boot camp, and they came back all jazzed about how to create destination marketing. And so we invited destination marketing people. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Mike, oh, hi. Yeah, that's who you are. Yeah, thank you. Mike is a new business owner in town, is now the proud owner of the Backcountry Bistro business. And he went off to boot camp as well to look at the destination prospects. We also threw it out to, hey, Gretchen. We also threw it out to the rest of the community, people who were interested, and particularly Gretchen. And to people who had other business interests. And so we have some of our bed and breakfast people, some of the lodging folks are here, the foodies, Beach Backcountry, Paula and Fresh and Wild, and Living Park Cafe. So we have people who buy your stuff and support your stuff and tell people to go to and see your stuff. And so they're here as well to get into the conversation and offer feedback. And then there's just those of us who are eaters and drinkers, like Jim and I and Fisher. And we just enjoy what everybody does. And so our 2 cents worth, is what we might see and how we might contribute as well to making everybody successful. And yes.
Well, so just to step back one more step, Max's call to you originated really with a conversation with Muscanon, Bill Muscanon, who I was hoping would be here, because he spent the winter in Virginia and came back just so impressed with how all the beverage producers in that part of Virginia work together to really get a lot of interest in coming to their area. So, and I think he has some ideas. So. Well,
maybe he will show up, and he might be on Paonia time. And if that's the case, then we're all early. We're trying at the Hive to set a different pace and to try and be on time and end on time. So we have a time block until 8 o'clock, and I will promise you the meeting will not go beyond that. Hopefully it'll end a little sooner. For everybody else in here, the beverage people were invited to be able to share something with the community so that we do some tasting and you can see what some of the products are and what they're doing and what a great job they're doing. Yes, Mike?
I can't help myself, but I would like to point out that the boot camp and Shallard even coming here is the North Fork Chambers that really helped that happen. In some extent, made it happen. So join your local chamber or join all 3.
Yeah. Well, and these dialogues are actually, it's a collaboration between the Hive, the Paonia Chamber. It's also supported by Region 10, and Trish Thibodeau is here from DSED. And so it's neat that we've been able to, at these dialogues, pull in some of our friends from Delta, from economic development. The county commissioners have been here. Robbie Valley has come to some of the meetings, and depending on what the subject matter is. And I think it's really great that we're extending the dialogue, beyond the valley into some of these organizations that are our allies and that we should be working with. And certainly the chambers are in that category as well. So it is a joint effort. I'm just here because I'm the one who forgets to step back, and I get up in front of the room and am willing to try and facilitate these meetings. And we're trying to also, one of the other things at the Hive here, we're running classes in marketing, in technology, and trying to also groom new facilitators to be able to do things in our community. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out, look at the Hive website, and we've always got something going on there. There is a branding workshop on Monday evening with Nancy Murphy, who's been doing a series of once a month on Mondays, Marketing Mondays, and so you might be interested in that and in her branding thing. So thanks, Mike, for the reminder of everything. I appreciate that. So the setup here is going to be a little weird, and the reason you're sitting how you're sitting, it's a facilitation technique called a fishbowl technique. And as I said to the people up front here, you're the fish. So it's kind of a layered approach to discussing issues and looking at how we can contribute to each other's success. And what I'd like to do is for the first, say, quarter or third of this meeting, we'll just involve the inner circle here. The people who are working to produce the beverages, and just involve them in expressing what they're looking for, what their business is about, and I've got one big question for them that we'll bounce off of and have some discussion. And in that, what I'd like everybody else to do is to be really good listeners and to hear what they're saying, hear what the challenges are, hear what their business is about, hear what their contribution to our economy is, and be really good listeners about that. And in the next segment, what I'm going to ask are the people who went to destination marketing to not put your own business hat, but put your destination marketing hat on, and maybe offer thoughts, ideas. What did you hear from the folks here? What can you contribute to their success in making this a destination for their businesses? And then we'll open it up to the larger group, and to the lodging, to the food businesses, and everybody else who benefits from what many people say is like a core industry here in certainly in the North Valley and certainly in Delta County with some of the beverage producers in Cedar Edge, and is a new brewery really coming to Delta? Yeah. Wow. They've been talking about it. And you know, do we make that part of our destination pitch? So so that's just kind of the layout. Does that sound confusing enough that you're going, I don't know what she's talking about? Good. One important thing: if anybody needs a bathroom, it's downstairs down there. So if you haven't been to the Hive before, please take the opportunity to enjoy the gallery and find your way around downstairs too. So to open this up, what my sort of theme for this tonight, I pulled off one of my all-time favorite little books off the shelf, and it's called The Art of Possibility. And I just will plant this little seed from the opening page here. This is a conductor that used to conduct the Boston Pops. His name is Benjamin Zander. So. An invitation to possibility. Waiter, I said in an exuberant mood, I have a perfect life, but I don't have a knife. I was having breakfast with a friend on one of my periodic visits to London to conduct the Philharmonic Orchestra. I heard giggles behind me, and turning around, caught the eye of a girl about 12 with a typical English pudding bowl haircut. We exchanged smiles, and then I went back to my conversation and to my breakfast. The next day I passed the young lady again in the breakfast room and stopped to speak with her. Good morning, how are you doing today? She drew herself up ever so slightly and, with a tilt to her chin and a sparkle in her eye, answered me. Perfect, she said. Later, when she was leaving with her parents, I called out mischievously, have a perfect day. I will, she responded, as though it were the easiest, most obvious choice in the world. And with that, she sailed out into the universe of possibility. My second thing, some of you who've been to some of my meetings, this is a flying hippo. It is my reminder of that anything's possible.
Getting married soon.
No, it needs to go first.
Right.
So just to set the tone, if there's people who are not familiar with who you are, I know some of you all in the inner circle are not familiar with who you are, I'd like to challenge you to the old exercise of a 30-second description, a 30-second elevator speech, call it your grocery store speech, your post office speech, whatever you want to call but 30 seconds to tell us who you are, what company or business you represent, and and the third thing is, what is the most interesting, exciting thing about your business?
Okay, my name is Gretchen King. My husband Mike and I own Revolution Brewing, currently Delta County's only brewery. Let's see, 30 seconds. We named ourselves the Revolution because we kind of chose to do things a different way. We're really focusing on quality for profit. But we like to use as many local ingredients as possible, so we do a lot of fruit beers. We're happy to live in a location where they grow hops, so we get to use those as well. The most exciting and interesting thing about us, I think, is we managed to bring people together in this community when it can be divided in a lot of ways, and the focus on quality and small batch so that it can be a real craft. So, time.
All right. You want to throw the hippopotamus at somebody?
In the front circle here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Starting now. You're being done.
Okay. I'm Brent Ellison. My wife Karen and I have Stone County Cellars. We're a very small winery up on top of Garden Mesa here. We produce roughly a half a dozen different kinds of wines in, again, a very small batch sorts of methods. The most interesting or exciting thing?
5 seconds.
We're still in business.
Okay. Is that 30 seconds? All right.
Hi, my name is Jeff Schwartz, and my family, my brother Seth and my family, we own Big B's Juices in Hotchkiss. We're a manufacturing facility, and then we have Delicious Orchards, which is the face of our operation. It's our retail operation. We have a tasting room, we have U-Pick, a cafe. Apple juice and lemonades have been the base of our model, and the retail, the hard ciders is our newest. Last few years.
Most exciting.
Most exciting is the free hard cider.
It's free.
For me.
Okay, go. I'm Chris Miles. I own Miles Brothers Spirits and Distilling. I guess we're the only distillery in Paonia right now. My product is Holy Terror Farm Apple Jam, my current one and only product. And there's a bottle in there. This is a really new business. In fact, I'm just sort of emerging from the product testing.
5 seconds.
Right now, the most amazing or interesting thing about my business is that it even exists. And alcohol is flammable at 100 proofs.
Nice catch.
Humble. DM people, listen up. I'm just not pointing out to them.
No, I'm Joanna, and this is Yvonne. We have the Rue Creek Vineyards and the Rue Creek Bed and Breakfast and the Rue Creek Spa, and basically we make small batches of wine. We grow hybrids. We have a bed and breakfast that was started in 1995 by 2 other people, and so we've had it 15 years. And I would say that the most exciting thing about our business is sharing the experience of the Valley with our guests and having them come back season after season and a few times during the season, and promoting all the other businesses in the valley so that they get to experience the farms, other B&Bs and wineries.
Okay, the hook.
And I think that is really, you know, I think that's probably the most exciting thing about our business, seeing how much they love the valley.
Thank you.
I get a minute because I'm speaking for myself and for Orchard Valley, or Black Ridge.
Okay.
Want to go one at a time?
I will see how it works out. Rob Kimball, 5680 Vineyards. Most of my product I sell out of the valley. I have no tasting room or anything in the valley, so most of my product ends up in Crested Butte or Roaring Fork. Black Ridge, on the other hand, is an all-encompassing thing, agriculturally. What else can I say about it? You know, it's just a great place to go. People get the feel for everything, from picking their own peaches, cherries, drinking some wine, and seeing what the valley can do agriculturally. So I guess that's it.
Okay.
The best thing about it is,
exciting thing?
the most exciting thing about it is, I can usually take a good month off in the wintertime.
We like that model.
Yeah.
Waiting for that.
It's okay. We're doing three things. Who are you? What do you make? And what's the most exciting thing about your business?
In 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds.
Okay, well, we have Jackrabbit Hill Farm. We moved here in 2001. And on the farm we have 10 acres of hops, 15 acres of grapes, and a distillery, Caprock. We make Caprock vodka and gin. Most interesting and exciting, I think the quality of the products coming out of here are really good. I mean, people are responding to, I think the valley is getting to have a good reputation for the products that are coming from here, getting to be known as a good source of local produce.
Who are you?
Oh, and I'm Anna Hansen. Pardon.
Cool. And last but not least, speaking for Anna.
Yeah, I'm Wink Davis. Max Isley and I have Mesa Winds Farm and Winery on Rogers Mesa, where we grow peaches, apples, wine grapes, table grapes, lamb, and we're very small. We use only our own grapes. We're certified organic, and we use only our own grapes, so all our wines are estate bottled. And I think the most exciting thing for me is seeing the effect of a diversified system on our soils and the resultant effect on the quality of our product. And I think it's reflected in our wines. We make our wines with the least amount of intervention as we can, and let it speak for itself.
Okay. That's everybody, right? Anything else sneak out? Okay. Those of you listeners, think about what you've heard and how excited you are. And then comment on that when you get your chance. Everybody's thirsty. Good. We're holding off that till the end by keep people here. Thanks everybody. Thanks for giving the 30 seconds. So let me start your conversation here with a question. Is the North Fork Valley a destination for you, and why?
A destination for
A destination for your business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or do you want it? Yeah, good.
Yes. Mostly because you have to kind of come out of the way to get here. a destination in that sense. Not very many people like just kind of happen over McClure or turn at Delta before hitting Telluride or something like that. So in one sense, we hope to, or we are selling outside of the valley on the west slope of Colorado at this time. So we hope that it's not our only income for destination, but we're happy about that and like to sing the praises of what's available here.
For our business, definitely a destination. We sell probably 85 to 90% of our sales are through the tasting room, and 90% of that is to people from outside of the valley.
Same approach you Valley, like Rich. A good 90% of the business comes from somewhere else. Well, all over the place. Louisiana during hunting season, our biggest markets are probably Crested Butte, Roaring Fork, I would say. Also, we have a Boulder connection, as far as a place that's not too close.
So to answer that question, 1/3 of our, in round numbers, 1/3 of our traffic comes from Crested Butte, that area, 1/3 from the Front Range, and 1/3 from other places.
I just need to put in a plug for you guys. I had some guests from Germany last year who do nothing but travel around the world doing wine tasting.
I don't want that job.
They actually said, I think that this area is better than the Napa Valley.
Our biggest problem is that nobody knows that.
Okay,
Nobody
so
knows that.
that's-
We're just in Portland, and we're looking down the valley and we're looking at stuff, and it's like, they have nothing on us. But nobody knows we exist.
Right.
That is our huge
So
problem.
nobody, it's like a tree falls in the forest. If nobody knows you exist, are you really a destination? I'm gonna ask the folks, just write it down, or just hold till we have this fishbowl conversation first.
Another one of our biggest problems, we have guests, we have a vacation stay at our property, and I have somebody coming shortly, and there's very few places to go to point them to say, okay, this is what you want to do in Hammond. We want, we have so much going on here. We have, art galleries, and we have all this stuff, but there's no one place that says, you have to do these 20 things when you're in Hammond for 4 days.
Like there's no flyer in there?
No, there's just,
I don't know
it doesn't
what it would be.
require a website or...
It's very difficult for someone outside of the valley to put together a vacation.
Yeah, because different people have different goals. The chamber has a goal of bringing in business and that. And the tourism goal in Delta County or in Delta, Kelly Hepler's, she's emphasizing, everything in Delta County. Well, people that come to Paonia don't necessarily want to go to Delta. They're here. So within 15 miles of here, what can you do?
So while you're talking, I'm going to try and capture some key points and challenges and
Well, I recall that there was a meeting a few years ago in which we talked about developing, lists of or what do you call it? It was over there at Caldwell Cedars.
that was the itinerary.
It was itineraries, and it was a list, a variety of different tours, I guess you could say, that people could take depending on if they wanted to do wine tasting, if they wanted to go, do the national park and Grand Mesa and that sort of thing, and it's sort of like set up itineraries for day trips that people could take. And I don't know what happened to that.
What form was it? Was that published?
No, it was
a brochure, a flyer?
Those were all from, I think those were all from the tourism board with Kelly Hepler. She had wine tours, she had walking tours, she had hiking, she had all the art tours, she had all different ones. Because don't you remember the flags that were all over the valley?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that comes from, and she probably still has them. They were great. And if you went to the website, Our Side of the Divide, you could look at all those different things on there.
Are they on the website?
Well, they were. I don't know if they are now. I haven't looked at it, but they were.
Most all the stuff's out up there.
I'd say that tourism, is that the question, tourism or destination?
Well, that's destination, yeah, and it's assumed, I mean,
It's
it's like
important
that
for
assumption.
our business, because we do a huge retail business here, and we like to get our fruit picked, that's our model, so we try to repick as much of our fruit as possible. Whatever we don't pick, we can process or just sell in the store, but, so yeah, we're trying to create business as a retail dollar, but we're also trying to utilize our Delicious Orchards, home of Big B's, as a home of, so that when people go back to Boulder and Crested Butte and Aspen and beyond, you know, California even, we're trying to give them a face of what our product is, so it's a personality on the shelf. And that's been really important, and I think the community is very important for that, because that bottle of Big B's cider or juice, because of this energy amongst here in the valley, gives it, you know, a lot of attention. So it's important for us for the retail dollar as well as for the marketing aspect of it outside of the valley.
So, okay.
Works both, benefits both businesses really.
So you've got spokespeople outside the valley who are drawing here. Just a few things from different publications. Colorado Life, this is Colorado's farm-to-table capital. And the reality is, Western Colorado is home to many fertile vineyards, boutique wineries, and vine-related events, or vino-related events. The highest altitude vineyards in the Northern Hemisphere are planted in the West Elk AVA, and that's Wikipedia. The West Elk AVA, or Paonia Hotchkiss in Delta County, Western Colorado, is the hottest new place for wine touring. The American Shuttle.
Was that the most recent issue?
Which one?
Colorado Light.
This was, no, 2013 fall. Yeah. Beautiful article in there. And then on the Paonia Chamber website, on Father's Day weekend, the West Elk AVA's wineries in Western Colorado, North Fork Valley will be holding special events, dinners, tours to showcase quality and uniqueness of the valley. So there's some good press out there, but is it all it could be?
Well, given that a large portion of our business is pure accident. I mean, it's just, they didn't read it, they didn't hear it, they're driving through and they see the sign and pull in. And it's not as much as it used to be. But, you know, people are coming back, that's the good news. But a lot of the business here is still pure accident.
We did an informal survey during both West Elk Wine Trial and Uncorked. And roughly half of the people that showed up to that had no idea that there was an event going on that day. Yeah. So our marketing is kind of, I mean, we had good turnout for everything, but not
By
what you, well, I mean, half of it by accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like people are coming for something, but
They're here and they're going there, and we happen to be in the middle.
Right. So, is that a good way to run things by accident? So here's the next question for you is, if you were to create, let me get this right. If someone could create an exceptionally successful destination for makers of wine, beer, cider, and distilled spirits, what would that look like? What would be needed?
Taxi.
Who needs to work on that? So, what would if it was the best place? And you know, I'm sure everybody's been to other regions, Napa, Oregon, wherever. What drew you there? What would the best destination for your businesses look like if it existed?
To put Denver into a country.
Yeah.
That'll help a lot.
Yeah, population.
Yeah.
Because I think we do have a lot of the raw ingredients for, I mean, it's, people who come out here have a great time. It's just getting the people,
Getting them here.
and they come back once they come. It's just a matter of getting them here.
Well, but can we fix that?
Sure.
That's not huge.
So I moved in, everybody moved in.
No, one of the biggest things that people will say that are even native Coloradans, if they come here, they will say, I never knew that this existed. I never was to this part, because if they drove through here in the winter, they probably were driving through as fast as possible and thinking, who the hell lives there? Because it doesn't look like anything. And then they drive over McClure Pass, and the apples are in bloom, and it's like, oh my God, what is this area? Where did this come from? And so it's really, so seasonal that, it's once they get here. But I guess it's just having more articles, maybe. I mean, we have people that come to the inn that have articles that were written about us 10 years ago in the Denver Post that they've saved to come to the area. So, yeah, I drew a picture, yeah.
But let's-
You and Jim.
Just separate off from
You
you, but if you were to create the most outstanding, excellent destination place for beverage business, what's happening there? What's going on that's right?
What are the components?
I think we have the components. I think some of the handicaps we have within the wine industry, if you're familiar with the Colorado Association of Viticulturists and Enologists, we're handicapped a little bit because they're required, whatever marketing they do has to benefit everyone in the state. That's Durango, that's Grand Junction, that's Front Range, and so they're handicapped. They can't say, we gotta really try this Paonia area. And so we don't have that communication tool to the populace that we exist. And so it's kind of an odd organization. I think the breweries are a little bit better at promoting each other and getting the word out about different regions and different places that have great beer. But the wineries, they're kind of handicapped by having to promote everyone. So they have beautiful billboards on the Front Range, drink Colorado wine. But unfortunately, everybody in Denver thinks that all the Colorado wine is made in Palisade, and it's not. And so our biggest handicap, I think we have that destination you're talking about, we have it, but we don't have a way to communicate that to the market.
So if this were the best destination ever created, there would be good communication about it.
You have a local organization that has a media outreach way.
I'm not saying it was the best ever, I'm not saying that, but we have a great story already.
You get the restaurants, the hotels, the things.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
We need stuff for people to do.
We might be missing a little bit more regular music. We have the theater, we've got Revolution, us, but I don't think on a regular basis can people attend like that. The mountain biking's good, the hiking seems okay, the fishing seems all right. Cycling's fabulous, but I think those evening music, there is some music, but those music venues, when we do music, we have a lot of people. August, Thursdays, a lot of people. Wednesday evenings seem like they're really good in the summer, or all the time. Delicious barbecues monthly are good music.
And that's in like, whenever there's an event in general,
Yes.
Cherry Days, Mountain Harvest, those are always good days. Music,
So a
and
great destination would have
something going on.
Regular
events.
entertainment.
Entertainment.
They used to have the Bluegrass Festival in the park of Hotchkiss, and that was great.
It was
People
great.
loved it.
Yeah.
It's coming back this year.
What?
It is?
Yes, right?
Yeah.
The Hotchkiss. Sweet. It's coming back.
It's
not,
oh,
that's
different. So take it away from our Northwood Valley, we're talking about, what did they do, Crested Butte?
What?
Whatever.
Oh, that
Yeah.
Are you ready for whatever?
Yeah, so a place, a destination would have a geographic advantage. A destination would have great media outreach, would have regular entertainment events.
And
What
great
else would-
food.
That would have a
Great
big
food.
billboard on it.
Local food,
And
accessible.
a great destination would have, I don't know what the word is exactly. I'm just going to use the Front Range as an example. We have mind share in the Front Range. So when somebody thought about, oh, I've got a weekend off, let's go do something, they thought, oh, you know, we should go do something at the North Fork. And that could be for any one of 40 different reasons. But we have enough visibility to rise up out of the noise of all the other marketing things that are going on, so that when people think, oh, I'd like to have some, you know, nice wine for the weekend, they get on our website or want to call, or they get, you know, they order hard cider, or they do something like that. So that when people are thinking of what they're going to do for the weekend, we actually show up in the thought process, as opposed to them stumbling across our sign along the road on the way to Telluride.
Decent lodging, cheaper availability, besides, you know, like it's nice that Delicious offers camping. We get a lot of people who ask about that. I mean, like, where can I stay, you know, and it's not, I know it's great to have people who are rich and buy cases of wine, no, so, but I think that's not, you know, a variety of lodging choices maybe.
Yeah, lodging has always been a big problem, you know, when you have an event, you don't have any places for people to stay. You've limited your event for that.
Well, I think the lodging slowly is gonna evaluate, you know, with Airbnb, VRBO, which is a good thing for the valley because these are people that goes to the local people, they get the real information about what's going on in the valley. And I'm not afraid about that. I think it's good that more people get involved with that and bring more people in the valley.
And one example I love to throw people in the city none of lodging is SEI. How SEI has created a lodging network, and
The county's trying to shut it down though.
yeah, state. So what else would make the best destination? What have you experienced in Napa, Sonoma?
Well, I think the other thing, excuse me, it's not an answer, but I'm getting at people. The other thing about...
He is 50%.
I know that.
Go on, talk half.
He's legal.
He's the brains, isn't he?
That's cool.
I didn't mean that the way it sounded. You're the good looks, how's that?
A lot of great destinations that you go to have a pretty strong downtown. So you're like, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but you go to the downtown and kind of figure it out from there. I think of every place we go, it's sort of like, oh, let's go to wherever, you know, like, and so I think a starting place, and you're like, oh, we'll walk around, it's cute, and then you go out to different places, so a strong starting place.
And I think for me, the biggest thing that we're doing in this valley, and this involves everybody, is we're selling lifestyle. We're not, and wine, beer, cider, it's kind of the byproduct. That's what people take home with them to remember this lifestyle that they experience here. You know, we were in the Sonoma Napa Valley last week. That's what we don't really want to do in this valley. We can't compete with that, and we don't want it. We want it to be more personal. We want it to be, again, a lifestyle
Yeah, exactly like
thing.
that. Non-pretension, very authentic,
Yeah.
real people with quality stuff.
And is that what successful destination means?
Yes.
Making a connection to people in that way, yeah.
In other words, someone comes here and they want to live our life,
Yeah.
but they're not.
But there's no jobs.
We're not comfortable with poverty.
That issue is one of the things that distinguishes this area.
Well, I did read that Aspen Chamber has a surplus of $275,000. They're trying to figure out what to do with it. It's like, I thought of you, Mike, then.
10%.
Yeah. Anything else that would make this the best destination that you ever went to, that you want to come back to, that's so compelling?
The hot springs.
Traveling. Build one.
I mean, that does bring a lot of people through here. Avalanche coming over the mountain.
Yeah.
I think we need a venue to tell our story. The North Fork Visitors Guide that we had last year, best little thing. where it told the story of the wine and the food and the arts and entertainment and all of that. It was really a good step in the right direction.
Maybe it would go under entertainment, but like recreation, you know, like something you can do besides just shop, you know, or something like that. And drink, yeah.
Was it, yeah, it needs that, and you need
Yeah,
to
so, you know, like selling the Viking riverfront trails.
you need to know how to find it.
Yeah, it's difficult for people to put together, track together on their own.
Yeah, I mean, the Black Canyon's a big draw. I mean, we get a lot of people
Right,
that go to the
right.
Black Canyon.
Right.
We have a lot of natural things here, hiking, biking, fishing, all of those things, but there isn't a place to send people to say, here's where you go to find those things. Like a map for the Jumbo Mountain single track. There isn't really a place where we can send people to find that, and the trail for Lamborn in the same place. So it's a concentration of the recreational activities, I guess.
Yeah, when I go to a destination, I go to look for where's that center place to find the information. Okay.
That's our daughter.
Yeah, she's part of the band. Okay, good. So this, if this were the best destination, if we could create the best destination, and it would look like this. Are these things that we can do here, or we're already doing, or is there anything that's totally untenable about it? We can't change the geography. We can't make more people closer.
We're going to make that a virtue rather than a...
Get away from it all.
Because that's one of the beauties of this valley, is that it's off the beaten
Yeah,
path.
make it a plus.
And you know, and the cycling is great because there's low traffic.
Mm. But if we did all these things, would each of your businesses benefit? Would everybody?
If they were coordinated, yes.
I think we have a theme going from the Hellickson family.
What's that?
I think we have a theme from the Hellickson family.
They're dinner conversations.
Yeah. So we need the Northport concierge.
Good idea.
Right there.
Now, to be fair, in the last, I don't know, small integer number of years, the family chamber has been beginning to perform that role. That's been a place where people go to find out kind of what's going on.
Hey, does Paonia have a visitor center?
We sell coffee there now.
Well, actually, last summer was an interesting experiment because the chamber was located in this building in the front there, and we had, pamphlets and information, and I host here at the Hive on Wednesday afternoons. It was amazing how many people came through town and how many people I sent off to some of your directions.
We have the blue eye signs leading into this building, out from the highway.
Okay. Well, I came from Silverton. Silverton is a big visitor center. It's a tiny microscopic little town with a gigantic visitor center, and it's right at the end of town. And it's amazing how many people stop there and get all the information that we were looking at there is available at this visitor center.
Maybe that's what we need, a passenger car and a private boat.
Yeah. So to move this along, are there any other things that you guys would like to add as challenges to this being a destination for beverages and other things, strengths that we have, or any other things that would make any place the best destination?
Under strengths, we have a lot of strengths.
Yeah.
That are not listed there. We, in general, have a reputation for very high quality of a number of different things. All, beverages, food, organic farms, all that kind of stuff. We have we dovetail well with the farm to table movement and the locavore movement. And we don't even have to work at that hard. It just happens almost by default. We have some of the most pastoral and stunning vistas above pastoral
Right.
landscape certainly in the state, probably in the country. World.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Yeah, it's just
The views are spectacular.
and and the standard things, clean air, water, you don't have to lock a car. The UPS man delivers to my pickup wherever it's parked in town.
Small town.
It's cool.
Yeah, Karen.
One of the challenges that we have, and you may not know this, but the Colorado wine industry has decided to discontinue their beautiful brochure they do for all the Colorado wineries in the state of Colorado. They don't make it anymore. And what they have is, they've substituted it with is a QR code on a website or on an app. And so if somebody wants to come to my place, it's no longer there. I mean, they don't have this piece of paper they can find me. So that's a problem. And when they get here, a lot of times they have AT&T or not AT&T, but Verizon, and they can't find me because they can't get to the app. And so unless they come to the chamber and get a map, they can't find me. So they stop someone on the street or whatever. So that's a huge challenge.
Competition is a challenge
Competition
from other beverage places, we get a lot of people who come through and say, well, we're following Colorado Beer Map, and we needed to get over to Carbondale, and you got me in the middle,
You
so
were
perfect.
right.
Yeah, but you got to get them through there, you got to get them to turn at Delta or come over the hill from Carbondale. So I think probably even Palisade is considered a big competition. You're in western Colorado, you can do Palisade.
And you're a little more of a guerrilla, they do more marketing, they have more presence in information.
And also the ski resorts in the summertime, I mean, an $800 room is $130. So that's competition. A lot of people go there, and they have the music festivals, and they have great shopping, and they have amazing restaurants, and everybody's discounting because they make all their money in the winter. So when we need to make our money in the summer, we're competing, really. We may not think it, but we are competing against all the ski resorts in the summer.
Is oil and gas a concern?
Sure, it's kind of
Right,
worse.
it is.
Yeah. Huge.
There's a great picture, there's an article a friend of mine sent me from NPR that was talking about Colorado as the next Silicon Valley of agriculture. And all of the innovative things going on, it was all about Front Range. Innovative things, CSU, things going on in Big Ag and the organic market in Boulder. And Hickenlooper had 2 paragraphs in there about all the innovation going on in Colorado and Colorado agriculture. And the friend who sent it to me said, look at the picture on the lower right and what's over the guy's shoulder, over his left shoulder. And there was a guy in a tractor, and over his left shoulder was one of those oils.
Rig.
Rigs and, yeah. Really, I think it was well found. I didn't know it was agriculture well found. But, so anything else? Anything before we leave it and we turn it over to our destination marketing gurus? All right. So, destination marketing gurus, would you just raise your hand and make yourselves known? 1, 2, 3, 4. I forgot you went. Huh? I forgot.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, you need to be excused.
I'm a guru.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. You listened, you went to boot camp, you heard a lot of things there. What are your observations from this group, and what thoughts do you have?
Right away, this destination boot camp that we all went to, I thought was
I got so much out of it, and there was so much for us to delve into that it's still too much. But from what you guys are all talking about, it's the same problem that I've always had with this little business that I continue to try and build. And I have always thought, like Jeff said, that we need to draw from away from here and make some noise about ourselves. And one thing, I remember when John Scheller did his presentation in November, one of the things that he said that really hit home with me was he had a whole pile of nice glossies and pamphlets and things all about our valley. And he said, boy, this stuff is beautiful. You know, you guys do great with this, but we only pass it around to ourselves. We talk, you know, we love our valley and we buy local and all sorts of, and it's only about us. And we need to make noise away from us. And one way, since, for instance, the winery, the AVA now, you can't advertise West Elks AVA, it has to be all of Colorado. Do some cross-marketing with people in Denver or around the state, like possibly invite them here, come on down for a weekend, and we'll show you around, and we'd like to see what you're doing out there to make some noise about what we're doing.
You mean other wineries or what?
Yeah, introduce yourself to somebody somewhere else in the state that has that you've heard of, maybe not Palisade, but farther away, like you said, Durango. Invite them here and show them what we have, and tell them you want to know what they have, and you know, we sort of generate some interest that way. And I'm also thinking that, you know, we learned that it's very easy to do your own press releases and your own media stuff. Rather than relying on somebody else to do it or some group to get together and form to do something, this is what I'm going to be doing with my little enterprise that I'm going to try yet again. I'm going to do my own press releases, and I'm going to talk to somebody, and we got that information from John, who can help me write it out so it's professional. But there's so much that we can do ourselves by reaching out. And also some of the social media stuff that I don't want to do. I don't want to do Twitter, and I don't want to do Instagram, and I'm going to. Because Instagram is Twitter with pictures. You know, a little bit of some verbiage. You know, you can take a picture of your women and send it out there with all these hashtags, and it can go all over the place and show people that you don't even know, thousands and thousands of people, all about us. My whole marketing plan for my little North Fork lifestyle gift boutique now, because it's called the North Fork Lifestyle. What does that mean? It's going to be all about, you want to come to my gift boutique because it's in the North Fork Valley. And you want to come to the North Fork Valley because of the wineries and because of the beer and all the beverages and all of our agriculture and the hiking and biking and river stuff and music. You know, we have so much here, but I'm going to make the noise myself. I'm having a little website made, but I'm going to go big guns on it. One person reaching out like that and traveling around and making a lot of noise and inviting people here, I think is powerful. One loudmouth person.
I guess one of the things I took away from the whole boot camp was that everybody has a unique business here. I mean, yeah, other businesses have something unique too, but everybody can make some unique statement about their place. And so you have each person's marketing system kind of, you know, in a column. Their unique position, why are they a destination, you know, what they're the highest winery in this, professionalism within this stuff that somebody organizes and puts together. And I'm not talking big dollars, but I know everybody here works so hard, I can't imagine actually having enough time to chug through all this stuff where somebody that really is on top of it can go down pretty darn quick and come up with a unified look, you know, for each business and also for all the businesses together or something like that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it might be money that would be very well spent to have a website that somebody continually updates that is for the North Fork Valley. And I know the Chamber of Commerce, of course, does a pretty good job, but somebody really needs to be on top of that all the time. And, I don't know how much money we're talking about, but I'm saying that somebody needs to devote their professional life, so many hours a day or whatever, to making this thing happen. We're doing our website, it's fine, we need to update it, but if you really want something that flows, that's one thing you're thinking about.
Let me read for you guys a couple of things these are from local websites. I won't name names. And how would you think of the message? Some of the best wine produced in the state.
Best.
Some of the best. Our vineyards are small, so the quality of our wine is pretty high.
So is our altitude.
Yeah, the highest altitude vineyards in the northern hemisphere are planted in the West Algonquin. Nice fact. Did that turn you on?
Say that again?
The highest altitude vineyards in the northern hemispheres in the northern hemisphere are planted in the West Algonquin. It kind of repeats on
Like, where
language.
the hell is that coming?
I make wine for me.
Can we guess?
Well, let me find yours,
One more point is press releases. There's been a lot of great press about this valley. Nobody's collated all that stuff. It's not on our website. That's unbelievable testimonies that have come out of this valley, and it's nowhere to be found. I mean, individual places have it, but I'm just saying that's where you need, a website that represents the valley, that has all this stuff well laid out.
And those things can last for years and years and years.
Yeah,
That's what you just keep throwing out.
I mean, a book has been written about the valley. I think National Geographic said this is,
Right.
so it's like a number 3 destination in the country or something? Or?
No, it's not number 3 embarrassment because of
They're trying to go.
the oil and gas.
Well, it was
very complimentary about what we do.
That's what I'm saying.
But,
There's
shame
a quote you could have pulled out of that. It would be amazing.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good idea, trying to find all that stuff.
Yeah, it's there. It's just not.
Pull up the good things. I know you're chomping on the bit, but Mary and Michael, do you have anything to say?
I have a different perspective because all of you are different periods of time here in the valley. I'm 27 hours living here, so, and it was a personal choice to come here and a lifestyle choice and a remainder of lifetime choice too for me to do this because of what this valley offers. So, I am an outsider, but I'll tell you what my perspective is on this. You talked about destination, and you talked about how you consider yourself a destination because people come and see you at this percentage other than this percentage by. But if it's an accident, that doesn't make it a destination. It just makes it an accident, which is okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You have places that are destinations that are like Napa and Sonoma that you talked about, and they're destinations for really a couple of good reasons, and that's the quality and the quantity of the vineyards that they have out there, and the quality and the quantity of the rooms, and then the food follows that. So those factors alone are enough, because Napa's not easy to get to either, and people come from all over and they make a big trip there, and they're willing to go out of their way to do that. We don't have that capacity, so that's not going to drive us. What we do have is something more similar to where I come from in Southern California, not the size of it, but that's the variety. And I heard multiple people speak to it that we need to have a consensus of what we have. We need to be able to, as Art says, enunciate it in marketing, by ourselves when we talk to people. We need to talk about the volume of things that we have here. It has to be about the bike trails. It has to be about the quality of the farm-to-market food. It has to be about the wonderful, beers that are brewed by Gretchen and Mike, or the wines that you people produce that I've had, and they're fabulous. And I love the products that come out of here. So I don't see it as being something where we can look at, and yes, we did learn about how to promote ourselves, and that was hugely important, but that's not the discussion to me here today. The discussion for me here today as a newcomer and one who's really interested in what this valley can grow into with balance, hopefully, for the people that, want to keep it its peaceful self at the same time, is that we have to be able to tell people about it in its total. We can talk about our individual businesses as we do, however we reach people, accidentally, on purpose, with our marketing, through our friends, through Yelp and Twitter, and those are great things, and we should do those. But if we want to promote the whole valley as a destination, then we need to do the things that Art's talking about and that others of you referred to, and that's we need to talk about all the things that bring a reason for you to come here. We have people that have come into the restaurant at Backcountry from Aspen because that was good enough for them. They don't mind making that 2-hour trip over here to come and let's just get out of Aspen for a day and let's go have food at Backcountry. Cool. That's not going to bring volume. If we want to make it a whole valley thing, I really think then it's got to be about why I came here. And I came here accidentally too, to be honest with you. I was looking to get out of California, and I knew I wanted Western Slope. I've been traveling here, never to Paonia, never heard of Paonia for 30 years. But I came to Western Slope looking for that business and location, and I found this place, and I found it because of a Craigslist ad Mary had for her business to sale, and it was the first place I stopped on a 9-week tour throughout the state of Colorado, primarily the Western Slope, and I came back here because of what it offers, which is the authenticity of you all that are here, the people that live here, the quality of the products, the vistas that we have here that you talked about. All of those things together made it a great place for me to live. And it doesn't take all of those things for it to make it a great place for you to come in and spend a vacation time and make it that destination. But we have to do that as a group if we want it to be the valley for that reason. We still can do our businesses and should do our businesses individually with what we learned from Shallard. But I think if we want to make it about the valley, it's going to have to be us all being part of a team and saying that, yes, coordinated, as you talked about, having a coordinated effort for that. It means collaboration. It means that where we have to be able to give and take a little bit. It means commitment, it means investment, it means a lot of different things that, I can say I'm willing to do, but it's going to take a whole lot of us willing to do it for us to make that successful. That's an outsider's opinion, and I appreciate you listening, but you guys are really important to me, and it's a huge thing that if there's anything I can do, I'm totally on board for it.
Mary, thank you.
Well, I would say that there are a few things that John pointed out as far as publicity versus advertising. And as a cohesive group, really creating stories and being a group storyteller, like what's the story of Paonia? And creating a story that we put into the world that creates a buzz. And there's a lot of different ways to do that through connecting with sources, really targeting who are your customers? Do you know who your customers are? And then how do you target those people? What are they reading? And getting press in a way that tells a story, not that tries to sell something. It's much more of a draw for people. It's much more believable if they're reading about you in an article versus they're looking at an advertisement that you've placed in some newspaper or magazine. And it creates an authenticity. It creates an emotion. I think that's one of the most important things that we learn is that you need to create an emotion as not just individual business, but as a cohesive. What's the emotion of our valley? And can we convey that to people? And what's the best way to do that? Is it through photographs? Is it through storytelling? Is it through testimonials? So it's a group effort of, how do we capture people's information when they come to our businesses? Can we share that information and then utilize it as a group versus everybody kind of doing their own thing? There's a lot of different methods, and I'm happy to share with anybody who's looking to pick a lot of the more detailed information out of what we got out of boot camp. It's very difficult to kind of throw it all out there, but we have a lot of information. And if somebody wants to get together with me and say, this is what I want to focus on, I'm happy to share my information with them. And I think pretty much anybody that was at boot camp would be willing to do that. But I think it's really about targeting. I think that we have an incredible resource within 2 to 3 hours of here between Telluride and Aspen and Glenwood Springs and Grand Junction. You know, those are day trips for people. And what I found last summer being open in town, and sometimes being the only person open in the afternoon on the weekends, there isn't much in Paonia on the weekends.
Yeah.
There's not consistent retail hours. And we committed to that for this summer just to see what would happen. You know, we felt it was one of the only ways to build our business, and we got a lot of business by default because we were the only people with the open sign up. And people are looking, like people drive into town and they say, oh, there's something open. And so how do we create a downtown feel, like somebody said? The number one thing is like, something's got to be here for them to come to. And so does that mean a consistency within the business owners? Can we commit to being open certain hours on the weekends, or, you know, I don't know how to collaborate in that way, but, you know, something so that when people drive into town, they have a few choices. They have a place to go. They can say, oh yeah, or the wineries can send people, that people are tasting wine. Yeah, go down into town, you have a choice of these 3 things to do. Or, you know, whatever it is. Like, but I think it's getting consistency, and I really think it's building. Like Backcountry had the best month it's ever had in this March.
Amazing.
I mean, considering that all last summer, and we were busy, all of a sudden, like, something is going on. So I think if we can capitalize on that push, there are definitely people paying attention, there are definitely people looking, you know, where can we now put our energy into creating this emotion, creating this buzz. It's not necessarily about advertising. It's really more about creating an emotion that people want to talk about. It's about getting press. It's about creating stories. And so, you know, coming from that place of imagination, what does your business have to offer in the way of a story? What's your history? You know, people want to hear fun things. They want to be turned on, like you said, like reading, does that turn you on? No, it doesn't. So what is, you know, how do we turn people on? And there's so many things about the Valley that are, you know, amazing.
I think we need to put Mike in the window on his bicycle rider. This one's the greatest article in that thing. I'm going to go to thank you, Mary, because you had your hand up and you're losing blood. And then I want to open it up to the wider conversation.
Okay, well, my name's Lori, and I've been here for approximately about 3 years, going on 4. I came here because of the education in the elementary school, and my daughter resonated with that. And I'm pleased to be here. I spend more time in Delta, actually, than I do in Paonia. But what I've noticed in the Valley, and just in comparison, when I moved here, I came from Oak Creek, which is outside of, I lived in Stagecoach, actually, by the reservoir. And it was small, coal mining, and I helped set up a museum there. What happened is that we had the Cultural Arts and Tourism group that came in through that whole corridor of I-70, trying to unite all of our little museums, you know, so that when people traveled, they could go from museum to museum to museum to museum. That was actually brought together by grants, and somebody facilitated it. They brought in people that did a research study. They also brought in somebody who did the graphics, amazing graphics, and a computer part to go with it. And what they did was they created identities for each of the various cultural centers that included food, drinks, the cultural events, cultural, museums. So it was well-rounded. And then they blasted it via computer, and they also had little guided experiences that you could put, on your phone. And you could go through the valley and look at things, or you were alerted if some events were coming up or festivals. So something like that creates a sense of community and brings people together from all the various resources within the community and helps to develop attention so that if you're coming through Delta, you know about Paonia, or you know about Cedar Ridge, or you know about Carbondale, and you know that it's coming along the path. And in addition to that, what's really nice is that you have a kiosk in each place where you can put your different advertisements for the different places within that community, but it's in the center of the town. And it's coordinated with a computer generated thing that gives you information about all the different localities and the different places, stores, whatever. So something like that that creates a sense of identity and helps build your sense of community and gives us stories and, you know, brings people here because there is something that is unique, can be very beneficial.
Thanks.
That's what John Shaw did too with the county. I can't remember the state, but he had different points. Each business had its own little, section, but it had a unified map. It's, it was all unified, so there was a similar kind of approach. And it works.
So let me throw this out, because I know some of us have been in this kind of same swirl of conversations of we ought to do, we should do, this ought to happen, you need to do this, and I think, we've heard it a lot. So let me throw the challenge down of who, when, and how to get the resources to do what some of these things are. Huh?
I'm ready.
You're ready.
I even drew a diagram.
Oh, you've been sneaking on board.
Yeah, you were so busy talking.
Wow, you're good.
One thing I want to say to everybody about the boot camp is that we had 12 people go to boot camp from Delta, is the best way to say it, Delta County. And most of them went on scholarships. And they all agreed to teach everybody else stuff. And we will have some meetings where everybody will be notified, or we'll do our best to notify, and the people that went to boot camp will sit down and go through what they learned. So we're really going to try to make this grow, and everybody's going to be able to. The individual people, I think all of them, of course you don't know who all of them are, but you could, if you find one, they would talk to you. But in addition to that, we're going to get them all together, and we're going to have a big meeting like this so that we can all learn what they learned. That was the intent from the day this started. The who, what, where, when. One point I want to point out, as I was talking to the Becky, or don't remember her last name, but she's putting together the Grand Junction Sentinel Vacation Land. And I started talking to her, I said, yeah, I'm from Paonia. She says, oh, you guys are just growing like crazy for a reputation in agriculture and agritourism. All I said was I'm from Paonia, and she said, I have no idea why she thinks that, but we are. Because it's true. But to talk about one of the things that the Three Valley Chambers is literally just starting on, and all of you will get the chance to be involved, is my pyramid here, because we're talking about it. This is the unification and everything else. We're going to put together a 3 to 5 minute video saying what is the North Fork Valley. We're going to put together a 3 to 5 minute video on Paonia, Hotchkiss, and Crawford, where they focus on the individual characteristics of the town. Under that, in random order, and if you're a restaurant, you really should have been third, but I just happened to think of wines first. But under that, then, the idea is, and this is going to cost you a little bit of money, is that, and we're working with David Jacobson right now, and I don't think you would have to work with him. It's up to you if you want to. But we're going to, for approximately somewhere in the $300 or $400 range, I don't know exactly yet, we're not that far along. He will develop a individual business video. So we can have a series of videos, one for each, maybe one for the AVA, maybe one for each individual winery, whatever you guys would want. Same with the lodging, same with the restaurants, same with all the farms, ranches, and everything else, all of the events, all of the businesses that would want to be involved. And the idea is that the North Fork Valley video would be on all 3 chamber websites. The individual town videos would be on the individual town chamber sites. All of the businesses that are members of any of the chambers, their videos, all this stuff would be interlinked so that if they found one, they could find the rest. It sounds like a great idea. I have no idea how it's going to work, and we're just getting started, but that's going to start happening in the next month or less. Just something to let you know about.
I have a question, just wondering, has there ever been discussion? I know that since I've been here in the last 3 years, 4 or 5 years, that all of the chambers got together and did the kind of combination website thing. Has there been any discussion about, you know, abolishing individual chambers and making it a North Fork Valley chamber so that we can put more money behind all of it versus, you know, I'm paying for Paonia, I'm paying for Hotchkiss, I'm paying for Crawford, and...
I don't think the towns want it. Yeah, I brought that up 15 years ago, and people
Well,
looked at me like 3 heads.
I can tell you this, the 3 chambers have been working together for about 1.5 years.
Yeah, that's about it.
And that just started happening, and the 5 chambers in Delta County started talking a year after the 3 chambers in the North Fork were talking. Now, the interesting thing is in a very short period of time, everybody's singing the same tune, is that if we can get them into Delta County, we all win. But that topic of having a single chamber, even just in the North Fork, is still extremely touchy. And will it get there? A lot of it will depend on the North Fork businesses saying, y'all need to do this. Because the costs aren't the same in each one, and if you join all of them, you know that. And so I don't know if it'll happen, but what I can say is that we are working together.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is a good step forward. And Trish just nodded her head and made me realize that when we started talking, it was just the 5 chambers. Now, for the Delta County, it's the 5 chambers, it's DSED, it's Region 10, and so we're...
And tourism.
And tourism, yeah, we started inviting tourism too, because, you know, because we were all stovepipe. Nobody knew what anybody else was doing, which the young lady sitting next to me says, it sounds like we need to communicate. And I said, yeah, that's the bottom line. Talked about boot camp, but I just wanted everybody to know about this, and I think we want to get the destination boot camp people involved because we may get this done first, but we need to be able to think about a destination, and it's got to be the whole group.
Thank you. Sarah?
What I'd like to toss around by way of an idea is, can we list all of the things that we know already bring people here in terms of the events that we are experiencing throughout the year? I'm president of Mountain Harvest Festival. We're keeping track of, or trying to keep track of, people coming from out of town. We know they're coming from out of town. The various farm to table dinners, the wine trail, all of those things that we know bring people in from the outside. How can we expand on those? Now that we've got your attention, ladies and gentlemen, and you're here enjoying this wonderful event, let me tell you about all the other wonderful things that go on or are available to you in this town, valley, county, region, whatever it is that we want to focus on, and bring, so that they'll come back. One of the things that Mountain Harvest Festival is trying to do is build up its financial support from outside of the community, and we're going out looking for grants. And one of the things that our grant givers are very interested in is, your event brings people in, do they come back? And so if there were some way that those of us who are really focused on events can be coordinating with other people who are, maybe we can begin to tell that story. And then I would just love to have every which way that we could for cross publicity, communication of what's going on and what makes this place special. We do have a dedicated staff person doing publicity for Mountain Harvest Festival. How can we work together with some of the rest of you to get a little synergy going here in that regard? So there's the idea.
Okay. And one thing I'll mention is that the creative group now, the directors of all of the creative outlets, Blue Sage, Paradise Theater, different galleries and that, are meeting on a regular basis once a month to coordinate schedules, talk about what activities are from there, and maybe
that's a place
maybe events, maybe yeah, amazing. They're meeting, they're talking to each other now. Linda, let's go.
One of the things that I have found frustrating over the last 15 years is the last minute planning. I put out a newsletter 3 or 4 times a year, and I, let people know who have stayed at the Ross Hotel, who are on my mailing list, all of the things that are going to be happening for, say, the next 3 or 4 months. But it's like pulling teeth to try to find out what is happening that might bring people into town to stay at the Ross Hotel or anywhere else in town. I go to websites. Last time I went to the chamber website a month or so ago, well, there were 2 things for the Blue Sage that were coming up in March. Well, that was too soon. I needed April, May, June, July, the summer. And a whole bunch of pictures of things that had happened in the past. And this is all under upcoming events. If we go to the Blue Sage, they're much better about their things, but they weren't ready yet with some of the summer things. But, I put all of those things in my newsletter. If you want to know what's happening this summer, all you need is a copy of my newsletter that came out a couple of weeks ago.
Or at least everything that you know at this point.
That's right, everything, but, if people don't plan ahead, I can't advertise it for them.
Yeah.
That's a real problem in this community, and I've been battling it for 15 years.
And one of his resources is who does it? Who does it? Who puts that out?
That is a serious constraint on the solution we might like to propose. Nobody is looking for an extra task.
Right.
We're all.
But there's so many people looking for a job, right? There's a lot of people in this valley that don't have work, quote unquote. So
And there's easily a full-time job here.
Yeah. How can we? Thank you, Mark, because that comes out of all of these, and we've had conversations about we need marketing, we need this, we need website support, we need up-to-date website, we need up-to-date schedule, we need a great story. Who? And how do we get to that who? And Seth and Kathy.
Well, one of the thoughts I was having, and it kind of answers somewhat the who, is really the story, and it's not really thought out idea. But I was thinking whether it's Instagram or Facebook or its own unique website, I can imagine it being really interesting if weekly there was some task that was sent out to whoever wanted to be a part of it that said, take a picture from your cell phone this week of a sunrise, or of your favorite activity in the Northbrook Valley, or your product, or of yourself working, or just something that you have to spend a lot of time. You have your phone, you take a picture, email it. The logistics can be figured out, but email it to somebody. It might be automated, it could go right to Instagram or something. And so each week, there was 20, 30, 500, whatever, whoever wanted to participate, pictures, and here was the theme. It was a sunrise at the North Fork, and 30 different sunrises, or yourself, or, you know, like, it kind of tells a story. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It has to go with all the other ideas, the website of like, oh, cool, I saw all these different things, now how do I go? But like, in telling the story of the North Fork, it seems like a pretty easy way to tell the story. And
that could be, if I understand it correctly, it could be largely accomplished if everybody had a website with a Facebook link. You publish on there and it goes everywhere, you know, including the North Fork Chamber, or whatever you call it. But it almost happens automatically by that network.
Right, and somebody smarter than I can figure out how that happens. I don't think it would, somebody would come up with the ideas, but some people could brainstorm 52 ideas in an evening and get the next 52 weeks. And then I think logistically or technically, I don't think it's that difficult to do.
Well, but again, it's food. Okay, Ken.
So, I'm not sure if this has been brought up yet, but the chamber, you know, we are really trying to make some changes, and really, you know, we recognize that there are challenges and the chamber has a role to fill. And so we made a very bold decision, I think, as a chamber. We're hiring a 32-hour week per person, because right now, as you all know, the chamber is a bunch of people who are really busy trying to do administrative functions. So we made the bold decision, we're going to hire someone. And this person will serve as that, like that concierge. I mean, we have the hours set so that they're really, like, their hours are when we have, you know, the most people in town. But it's going to take this community. It's like you all recognize what has to be done. We can see the challenges. But we need more financial support to help fund this position. I mean, there's a lot, like, you know, we're going through the hiring process right now. And if we had the support of every single business in the room, could we get that to 40 hours? You know, we're taking this bold decision. We don't quite have the full plan of how we're going to fund this position, but we have to make that move forward, and it's going to take the community and the businesses to help make this happen, because we see the need. You know, I'm sure, like a lot of people in here, they can't afford to bring on someone full-time to do this, but if we all can combine together to promote this valley, that's one way that we can accomplish it. So I encourage you, think about this chamber, think about funding this position, because it's really going to have a big impact for this community.
Kathy?
Yes.
If you have an articulated plan, you could give everybody that they can focus on and see how they fit into that. You probably thought of that, but that would help.
Great. We will work on promoting that. We have a chamber meeting tomorrow where we're looking at candidates and things like that. So know that that's coming, because we see the need for it. And secondly, I want to just 100% support what Sarah said. Events are such an easy way to bring, like what Mary was talking about, that emotion and why people want to come here. Have an event. It's such a great way to get people here. And I like that the chamber is taking on Years and Beers this year. So we have another event that's kind of in the springtime where we can get more people to this community. Because once they get here, they're coming back. So and thank you, Sarah and Bill, for Mountain Harvest Fest.
Different businesses here could sponsor, maybe not sponsor, but have an event at their place that would be a rotation, which would give great publicity to each of the businesses and wouldn't overburden the neighbors, etc.
Yes.
That's what I thought about it.
So we heard the chamber's amping up some resources. Anything else? Pat?
I'm very new to the area, but I've noticed that there are a number of empty spaces in the retail spots in Hotchkiss and here in Paonia. Would there be any way that maybe the Creative District or some organization like that could organize something with business owners as well as gallery owners to fill those spaces when people come here in the summertime. Make sure we have not a bunch of empty storefronts for people to see, but to see galleries or tasting rooms or, you know, I don't know what else you could put in there, but I'm sure there'd be a number of things like that. Anyway, it would take cooperation of business owners and gallery owners and that sort of thing to do it. But I've seen that done in other areas, and it's remarkable the turnaround that occurs. That's all.
There's a little town in Colorado that actually put fake people up. They put like cutouts, and it looked like there was something happening. You were, wow, this isn't happening. Look, there's 4 people. And it worked, you know. And it's just all impression and perception. And,
right.
It's all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had your hand raised multiple times.
Ever since that John's talk in December, I've been kind of beating my head at how to help and so forth. And then at the Soil Health Conference, Carl Krubers was another speaker who was in marketing, and he nailed it just like John as far as what this valley, the potential it has is incredible. Like Trish and I grew up in Delta. I moved back in September. I never thought I would be back in this whole area. You know, my uncle, my godfather lived up here in Paonia. I've spent a lot of time up here. And it's just, I'm so happy to be away from the Front Range. We brought so many friends over who thought we were crazy. And, you know, every time somebody comes over, we take them all over. We take them to, thanks for Anna for, hosting us, and other wineries, and Revolution Brewery, and Big B's, and it's just like we gave them an experience that all our friends just can't wait to come back. And Trish sent out an email to every one of our friends to start picking our dates if they want to come over. And these are things happen over here. And I start to look at some of the things on the Front Range that what brought us. There's so many things happening over there that's difficult to market these festivals and so forth unless you're already planning on coming over or if you know somebody. But once you're over here, I think it's so crucial. Another big thing is, I used to be a big mountain biker, and there's I don't see anything. People talk about mountain biking and all these things, but there's no, except for, which is gaining a lot of notoriety on the YouTube, is the Sidewinder Delta. And it's like, I took out a friend last week, dropped him off to the North Rim, and let him mountain bike, and there's so much potential, but I think those little things where hiking and mountain biking are not, people talk about it, but I was looking at the map last week and trying to figure out, okay, well, this is for horses and this is for whatever, but there's no signage that brings mountain bikers over here. I mean, that's what they want to do. They want to mountain bike at the end of the day and go to a winery or someplace and just drink.
I was going to say, I know that the tourism board is working on, I think, 10 different bike trails, and I'm not sure which ones, but I did just talk to the president, and he was saying that they're working on getting some bike trail maps together for this summer.
It's happening. This place is, it's ready to explode, but...
Well, and that's the good news and the bad news. Is I think a lot of people just really agree that it's, if we explode too far, too fast, we lose where we are. And that farm table landscape, the lifestyle, the quiet place to come, the place to get away. So finding that balance.
Can I just say something about that? I think it's going to be years. I really worried about that. And I think that is, I'll tell you, I moved to Eagle County in 1980. And at that point, I was a newcomer, and it was like the valley was already so crowded. People didn't want anybody. There were only 3,500 full-time residents in the entire valley. Okay, now you know how that's grown in the last 30 years. But you know, the people that lived there, that were from there, that were born there, that homesteaded there, I learned something. I just mentioned it to Yvonne when you were coming here tonight. Two of the original families, we're very friendly with their children. And they said to me, if the town isn't growing, it's dying. And the thing is, everyone here is so worried we're going to be like Vail, or Aspen, or Telluride. They can forget it. We're not. We don't have a ski resort. We don't have golf courses. We don't have what the people that want to live in those areas have. We don't have that. So we're seasonal. We are May through the end of October. So I don't know why people are so worried that we're going to end up with this huge population. People want to come here and go home. They want to go back to the Front Range. They want to go back to all their amenities. They want to go back to Home Depot. They want to go back to Target. They want to go back there. So I think this valley should stop thinking that we're going to become one of these ski resorts.
And they also want to know that there's a place left on the earth that is...
Really, but everybody here, what's going to happen?
So I want to piggyback on a little bit on that, is that we come back to the main challenge. Because I hate to call it a problem. We don't have problems here. We have challenges. And the thing that I'm losing my train of thought a little bit here, but the main thing is that the people that are here, we call the fish tonight, and the people that are involved in businesses are the ones that are involved in promoting the valley. That what I think, John, I was kind of hinting and saying that, you know, you have to educate the people in the valley to be more open and accept the people here. I mean, we have so many problems, not many problems, challenges, with cyclists that bring a ton of money to us, to the valley. You know, a group can dump $10,000 in 3 days. And they've been challenged by the sheriff, by, you know, things like this that shouldn't happen. They should be let go. I mean, you know, and that is, I don't quite understand that part. And education of the people should be done that way too.
Yeah, everybody in every shop, behind every counter, ought to be able to answer the question, where can I get something to eat?
I mean, our guests say that Hotchkiss and Paonia on a weekend looks like a ghost town.
Yes.
To your point about the shops being closed, I mean, they say, well, there's nothing open. I mean, it's the weekend in the summer. I understand people want to have their weekend, but I mean, then they complain they don't have business. That's when the people are coming here on the weekends.
Yeah.
So maybe they should close a day during the week and be open on Saturday.
When we do load it up on the weekend in Paonia, everybody complains there's no parking. I think it's a wonderful thing.
I don't know, it's very...
I think a big challenge, you know, we talk about it being seasonal. There's only one fish in the fishbowl up there that's open year-round. And that's a problem, because people come here in the wintertime, and they're like, why aren't the wineries open? Why isn't there anywhere we can go? Why can't we go do this? Because they're not open, because it's seasonal. That's a problem, I feel.
Well, we don't have to be seasonal.
Right.
You know, we've got great cross-country skiing. We've got great backcountry skiing. We've got snowmobiling places that are fantastic. We just don't try to sell anybody to come here in the winter.
Well, and there's such a narrative of the winter is down, the winter is down, the winter is down. And people are tired. I mean, farmers are tired. People have worked at like that time to kick back a little bit. But to Mary's point, March was the best month ever at Backcountry. January was the best month at the Paradise Theater. It was phenomenal. The restaurants in town, January, February, March, were doing well. And it wasn't just locals. You know, there were musical events attracting people in. I mean, you guys get a house full all the time at the rep. SEI had 50 instructors, 50 people in. And is it that we And to Joanna's point, are we telling ourselves this narrative that could be changed? Could we change the story and within ourselves start talking about, hey, you know, yeah, come to Paonia in February. There's going to be a great band on, and it's going to be a great show.
Or you got a creative
We have a creative
show
galleries
Friday,
are full
Saturday, and Sunday.
But how do we change the thinking of that narrative of, oh, we've got to be down after Christmas, man, the next about 4 months are going to be nothing. And so we create this short year.
Yeah, I think having events, you know, so I mean, for us as a winery to be open in the winter, there's just not a critical mass of people that makes that worthwhile. But if you had events and there were certain weekends or things going on that it made sense for everybody to be open, that would make sense.
I read a very interesting little tidbit about 2 years ago that the wineries in the lower elevations, especially around California, because of the drought, will probably like not exist within the next 10 years, some of them. So what's happening is that they're moving up to the higher elevations and people will be looking more towards those wineries. So, and that was, you know, you probably are all familiar with that, but, you know, looking at trends, you can gauge like where you can go with that.
So I'm just mindful of the time here, and my throat is looking at that table back there. And I feel like, you know, we've kind of chewed over a lot of the same old stuff. And one thing that I've heard is that the chambers are going to take on a piece, but it's not going to be the whole thing.
Well, one of my mentors used to say, I can do more for more and less for less. So could the chamber take over a lot of this? If the community and the businesses wanted the chamber to do it and could provide support, the chamber could do a lot of this. But, you know, I mean, I'm picking on Crawford, but they also are the weakest chamber in the group. You know, I need $300 from them to put in a big ad in the Vacation Land magazine, and they don't know if they can come up with the money. So, if, or is the t-shirt that the group that I led at the University of Dayton, that my group gave me, it says basically, if you got the money, honey, I got the time. And we got to decide what we want to do, we got to develop a plan, and then we got to figure out a way to fund it.
So is there enough interest to do that?
Well, I think that the chamber is the natural clearinghouse for the information, because whenever I have guests, a lot of them will say, well, where's the chamber? Because that's where they're going to go to find out information. And if they have all the information, which honestly, it's been really hard because of the hours, and a lot of people don't find the information that they need there. So if everybody fed it to the chamber, that would be the place to look for the information.
And that becomes bad resources as well, Bill.
As Kathy Schwartz indicated, there's two components to what the chamber does. It's what it wants to do, and it's what it can afford to do. If you look at the finances, it's $75 a year. We've got about 100 people, 100 businesses usually. That's not enough money to do anything. And so we've gone to several businesses and they've coughed up a few $1,000s. So anybody in this room who's got a little bit of spare money that could go to the chamber, it's a not-for-profit 501c3 corporation, that's all tax deductible. We can get a lot more done.
Well, information is free though. I mean, if we put our schedule into the chamber and they had it, they could post it on the website.
But somebody has to post it. That takes time, that takes effort, and websites are always changing and constantly updating. So just to have that person
It's a lot of effort.
If you want the doors open.
We need
volunteers.
We need a staff with paid and volunteer people.
Yeah, it sounds like we're getting a paid person.
We are,
so that's
it's
gonna
gonna
be
take the
helpful.
support.
So it seems like that there's a logical place that this marketing, this information clearinghouse lives. Now, what do we as a community do to support that logical place? And not, invent another organization, another nonprofit, another whatever to do that. And so, I would ask everybody to think about that. How do we support the existing agency?
What I'm hearing a lot of, and I hear it from you, is that who, when, and so forth. At the Soil Health Conference, the same talks were going on with a lot of people in the farming community and so forth. The same things. And there were certain people that I was hoping to talk to, and I don't see anybody here from the Soil Health Conference, for a few, that they were thinking about working on marketing and marketing for the Front Range or whatever. So there's people here in the community, I think that these things are going on, and getting them all together is really the key. Having those people here would be really nice to see them involved with some of the people that went to boot camp and so forth. And, like I hate to just throw myself out there and say I'll volunteer for this and that, but then, while other people are probably doing the same thing. So maybe just, something that puts out in the paper or whatever saying, anybody would like to, a few people get together and work on a marketing thing or something, I don't know.
Maybe a really powerful strategy for marketing the valley would be to go to, Rob, Big B's, anybody who's selling product out of the valley, Revolution, Jackrabbit Peak, have a little, everyone has a website on their bottles, the beverages, and then, but again, it comes back to the website, but if we can, if you could give us good links to our website, we put a lot of bottles out in the country. I mean, really far and wide. And maybe that's just something to strategize about. Voga, years ago, tried to come up with a branding, Voga Certified, or Voga Proud, or Valley Proud, or something.
They're still working on that.
We're still working on it.
We were working on it in 2006.
We were working on it in 2001. Yeah. So I don't know what I think it's an easy solution. We need a website and we can put it on the bottle.
But that's an easy commitment. That's kind of an easy commitment, though. How many people in this room have a website?
What was that?
How many people in the room have a website for your business, for yourself, or whatever?
I will.
You what?
I'm going.
You're going. Okay. How many people have the linkages to other businesses on the website? 2, 3. And the chamber links. So, what if we could take one small step, and everybody who has a website commits to a banner, a page, or whatever that has linkages to each other?
That would be great.
What about like a,
Well, so Max just revamped our website to be mobile device friendly. And I think that's something that I wasn't aware that, that there was special ways to do that. And I don't know if that could be something the Hive could maybe facilitate, would be
there are classes on that, there are classes on that are helping through that.
Yeah, because I think that's really critical.
Yeah.
And
we have in Paonia and resident at the Hive, one of the top search engine optimizer guys in the country. And he's giving classes on marketing and search and optimizing. So this place is committed to providing resources.
So maybe it should be Sergeant, but it should be someone who needs to create that banner in North Fork Valley, so we're not all trying to create that message. and then we can throw it on our everyone can throw it on their website.
Yeah.
And it's good for our business too, because it's showing where our product's coming from, where our family's from, and it gives us the sense of sincerity, sincerity that everyone is striving for in the industry. Bring it back to the beverage industry. This beverage industry that's blowing up in the world, in the country, from alcohol to juices to everything, it's blowing up. Everyone is looking for sincerity in their product, and that's the message that we've all brought here is, it's a sincere place with sincere people and sincere products. Authentic. Sure. And so if we had that authentic banner that we showed that, we would actually, these would love to post.
Any nominees for doing that?
Jimbo.
Just to, as a little snippet, to support the idea that websites point to each other. That is so critical in the search engine optimization world. Because that when other sites point to other sites, that give the site that's being pointed to gives the idea that it's authentic. And that's what the search bots, Bing, Google, whatever, they look for. So it's an easy thing to do for all websites is start pointing to each other.
So if you had a logo and a link.
Pardon me?
If you had a logo and a link.
Logo's fine, but linkage in terms of SEO equates to marketing. And so if we all, all these sites can link to each other, that helps. That's just one, you're just scratching the surface on what needs to be done on websites. That's just a point, one tactic to do, many things to do.
And that's also how we sell the lifestyle, we sell the experience by showing each other what's going on, what we're doing this week, what workshops we're having, what we're teaching, what we're growing.
Last couple comments and then we got to adjourn.
Well, it also strikes me that that we could somehow put up these itineraries on our website, so that when people came there and they said, "Oh, winery, oh, look at all these other things we can do," and they can actually, they don't have to go any farther to access the wine tour or the national forests and all that other stuff. And I guess that the itinerary is sense.
Yeah.
So it'll get better.
Yeah. Kelly did a lot of work on that, and I've done work on it. Yeah. Okay. Gretchen, and then who else? And then Mary.
Jeff, you guys sell stickers that say North Fork Proud. It was from something a long time ago, I think. But I like the idea, and I hate the word branding, but of like something that, maybe that would be something we would all be willing to put on our labels, like North Fork Proud, to really like show that we're proud of this area and of each other and support each other in that way. And maybe it would be as simple as like the North Fork Valley Chambers, instead of being North Fork Valley Chamber, ho-hum, something a little more not as businessy, like I think there's some possibilities there, with a logo or, the cross marketing, I think is definitely something that can work good. What are we proud of? Like, we have, like, one of our labels talks all about SEI, and, they didn't pay us, and it's something that, is so amazing about this community, and something we want people to know, like, these things, there's great stuff going on here.
Right. So developing some, it could be even, stickers that people put on their products and, yes.
I was going to offer, if anybody wants to, you're asking who's going to do stuff, if anyone wants to send me just a quick email with a link to your website and a paragraph description of what you do, give a date 3 weeks from now, I'll compile in 3 weeks all of the ones that I get into one form, and I'll just, whoever sent me their link, I'll send the whole list of everybody else's.
Okay, what's your email?
Seth@bigbees.com.
Well, that's great.
So no apostrophe in the bees.
Correct, no apostrophe. It just doesn't belong, your website, description, I'll put it in one sheet and send that over.
All right, well done.
Well, that's theoretically something the chamber should be doing.
like, you know, like an iframe in your site so that they update it in one place and it's updated on everybody's page, you know, like a Google Doc or something that would be, I mean, I think that's awesome. Thank you,
right,
Seth.
so I just figured.
But I mean, like, maybe we could share it with them and they can make it easy for us.
And then
or
take it from
something.
there and make it
Yeah.
easy.
But yeah, I mean,
You're deputized.
No, that was my one off.
but,
Okay.
There's two full-time positions here, Danny. There are two full-time positions required to deal with all this.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
To promote the value, essentially.
Yeah, we're making one, and, I'm gonna look over to Trish to
I'm just Googling something.
sorry, Trish is many.
I was just seeing if North Fork Crowd was available for the website.
Okay, yeah.
Well, you know, Carolyn Rico got Destination North Fork and created she bought the rights to that
URL.
website, that URL. And so the Destination Bootcamp people are in the process of putting something together as far as Destination North Fork goes. So
That's cool.
I don't know where that's at the moment.
See,
but-
that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, it's like, we need to hear this so that we all don't,
Yeah. You know, and like, what, 6 years ago, we got grant money to do Buy Fresh, Buy Local stickers, banners,
Happened in Cedar Ridge, and so we're looking more at it from a county-wide, but I think that there's great potential, but it takes resources. I mean, everyone here is tapped out and volunteering and doing that, and it's got to be coming together and putting some resources behind it, because doing the website management, doing that, you know, keeping it on top of search engines and keeping that coordination, keeping all, you know, takes some time to do that too.
You gotta hound everybody to get the stuff from.
Exactly. Yeah, because I know that the Paonia Chamber of Commerce, I mean, they just, internally I just have the list of summer activities happening through October, November, which I think is going to be going on the website, but you know, it takes time to get that together.
Right. But summer's fast approaching, and
I've already sent the list out to my folks, so.
So, you know, a couple of things to do out of this. Chamber, Seth will help put it together, put the linkages and things together. If everybody in the room commits to putting other people's stuff up there, if we just give Robert presents and all of that's good. And support each other. Learn where other businesses are, learn what else is in the community.
Just one other thing, because I think you know, about the folks that are marketing their things around the country, around the world, whether it's Jackrabbit or Big Bees, I mean, that becomes a presence that brings folks to, that makes that awareness on Front Range in New York, in Germany, wherever the case may be. And so if tapping into that is a resource too.
Yeah. We have two clothing companies in Paonia that have not just national, but international presence. 30 states or something, Elizabeth is in, and Accomplice is like all over the world.
What's the name of it?
Accomplice. They're here.
What is it?
They make clothes. They just make
There's our store.
marketing clothes. They will be in the fashion show. If you have fortunate enough to have tickets Friday or Saturday night. Let me just give a closing little story here. Also from my Art Possibility book. A shoe factory sends 2 marketing scouts to a region of Africa to study the prospects for expanding business. One marketing rep sends back a telegram. Obviously, this is dated because it's not English. Situation hopeless. Stop. No one wears shoes here. The other writes back triumphantly. Glorious business opportunity. Stop. They have no shoes. You can look at this as, well, we don't have anything going on in the winter, or same old, or we can look at it with fresh eyes and say, let's keep going for it. And people are waking up to this valley, and people are waking up to the wonderful stuff that you all make. And we need to keep singing the song. And we have a couple of things. We need to hold these people accountable to what they said they would do, what everybody said they would do. So everybody check up on each other's websites, see where the linkages are. Seth will see if you get stuff or not.
Put a date on it.
Go in, go in.
Just, I don't know.
Just on our website.
Just send me a website, what the description, if you put a date, on that date, I'm gonna compile it, and after that date.
It's April 1st. April 15th.
Yeah, I mean, website, it's all.
All right, 2 weeks, 10%.
Good offer.
And we have wine, and we have cider.
Yeah.
Right.